Hey everybody, and welcome to another deep dive. Today we're taking a closer look at the 2024 California Driver Handbook. It's your one-stop shop if you want to know how to drive in California, new drivers especially.
Yeah.
But even if you've been driving a while,
Definitely.
it's good to refresh your memory. And even if you're not a driver,
Right.
there's still some really useful stuff in here. Like, I don't know if you saw this in the intro letter, but
Oh, yeah, I did. You're talking about the pedestrian and cyclist deaths, right?
yeah, that was pretty alarming. A 50% increase in pedestrian deaths since 2010, and cyclist deaths are up 60%.
It's scary stuff, and it kind of makes you realize that driving isn't just about knowing the rules. It's about understanding the why behind those rules and realizing that we're all sharing the road.
Yeah.
And some folks are a lot more vulnerable out there than others.
Absolutely. It's not like pedestrians have airbags. Speaking of being in the know, what are some things that people should be aware of when it comes to actually getting a California driver's license?
Well, one thing that might sneak up on people is the Real ID deadline. It's May 2025.
Uh-oh.
And you'll need a Real ID compliant license if you want to fly domestically, enter military bases, or access federal facilities.
Real ID. Yeah, that's basically a federal standard for identification that requires more documentation when you apply for your license to help prevent identity theft and all that.
Exactly. And the handbook lays out the specific documents you need, but I think it's worth highlighting that California offers licenses to all residents regardless of immigration status.
Oh, that's really good to know. It sounds like they've made the process inclusive and accessible for everyone. And there was also some specific info for veterans.
Yeah, veterans can have special designations added to their licenses.
Oh, nice.
Which is a cool way to honor their service.
Yeah, definitely. And while we're talking about identification, we can't forget about ID cards. Super useful for anyone who needs a form of ID, whether they drive or not, whether you're a teenager who's not quite old enough to drive or a senior who's decided to hang up the keys.
Right.
An ID card is a handy way to prove who you are. Now, let's say you're under 18 and you're ready to hit the road solo. What's the roadmap to getting that coveted California driver's license?
Well, for our younger listeners, the handbook outlines a pretty clear path. It all starts with the knowledge test. And if you pass that, you'll get your instruction permit.
All right, so you pass the test.
Then comes the fun part, driver's training, and you have to log at least 50 hours of supervised driving practice.
50 hours, that's a lot of practice. Is there anything specific about those practice hours?
Yes, 10 of those hours have to be at night.
Oh, wow.
Which is something a lot of people don't realize. Driving at night is a whole different ballgame. So the handbook really stresses getting comfortable with those conditions early on.
Makes sense. Okay, so you've gotten your practice hours in, and now you're ready for the big one, the drive test.
Yeah.
Are there any restrictions that come with the provisional license for those under 18?
Oh, absolutely. There's a nighttime driving curfew, for one.
Yeah, makes sense.
And limits on how many passengers you can have in the car. But here's something that might surprise some people. A parent or guardian can actually cancel the license.
Really?
If they need to.
Wow.
It's all about accountability and making sure young drivers take their responsibilities seriously.
Yeah, so much for those late-night joyrides with a car full of friends.
Exactly. The handbook does lay out some exceptions, like for medical needs or SLE or work or family obligations.
Right.
But you'll need documentation to back those up.
Makes sense. Speaking of documentation, let's talk about those tests themselves. What can people expect when they walk into the DMV? What's the testing experience like?
Well, you'll start with the vision test, which is pretty straightforward. They check your vision, and if you need glasses or contacts, you'll get a restriction on your license.
Oh, yeah.
Then comes the knowledge test.
Oh.
And here's where the handbook really stresses knowing the material inside and out. No cheating allowed.
You mean like bringing in the handbook itself?
No way.
And no phones, I'm assuming.
Absolutely not.
3 strikes and you're out.
Pretty much, you got 3 tries to pass the test.
Okay.
Before you have to reapply, and there are waiting periods between tests, especially for minors. So it's really best to just study up and be prepared.
I can only imagine the pressure. What about the drive test itself? I know I was a nervous wreck when I took mine.
Oh, I bet. But the key is preparation. Make sure you have everything you need: your instruction permit, a licensed driver to accompany you, a safe vehicle, proof of insurance, and registration.
Okay. And if I'm using a rental car?
If you're using a rental car, double-check the contract. Your name needs to be on it, and there shouldn't be any weird clauses that say you can't use the car for a drive test.
So many details.
Absolutely. And here's where it gets interesting. Before you even start driving, the examiner's going to inspect your vehicle.
Oh, really?
Tires, brakes, lights, seatbelts.
Wow.
They check everything. And if your car doesn't pass, you'll be rescheduling that test.
They don't mess around. I love that they really evaluate your driving skills and not your reliance on fancy car technology.
Yeah.
All those automated parking systems and lane departure warnings.
Right.
Those are off limits during the test.
It's about proving you can handle the car.
Right.
Not that the car can handle itself.
Back to basics. Love it.
Yeah.
So you've aced your test, you've got your shiny new license. What happens next?
Now comes the real challenge, sharing the road responsibly.
Okay.
This is where the rubber meets the road, both ethically and practically.
Yeah.
And the handbook dedicates a lot of space to this.
Yeah.
For good reason.
Yeah, it's one thing to know the rules in a booklet,
Right.
but it's a whole other ballgame when you're out there with real cars and people all around you.
Exactly. And this is where it gets tricky,
Yeah.
even for experienced drivers. Take right-of-way, for example. The handbook makes it very clear that just having the right-of-way isn't automatic.
Okay.
It's about yielding to prevent collisions.
Especially those four-way stops.
Oh, yeah.
Or those T intersections.
I've seen so many near misses at those four-way stops.
It's like everyone's played chicken.
And roundabouts can be another source of confusion.
Oh, yeah.
The handbook breaks down the rules,
Okay.
emphasizes yielding on entry and choosing the correct lane.
Yeah,
But of course, we can't talk about sharing the road without mentioning pedestrians.
of course. And they always have the right-of-way right, no matter what.
Absolutely. The handbook is very clear about that. But it also encourages drivers to be mindful of pedestrians who might need a little extra time to cross the street, like seniors,
Yeah.
people with disabilities, or kids.
You got to watch out for the little ones.
It's about anticipating their needs and being patient.
It's not just about following the rules, but being considerate
Exactly.
and recognizing that some people are more vulnerable.
Right.
What about sharing the road with vehicles that are much bigger than us? I'm talking about big rigs and trucks.
Yes. Sharing the road with those big rigs. The handbook has some pretty vivid descriptions of just how massive their blind spots are.
They don't call them no zones for nothing.
Exactly. Imagine trying to drive a vehicle where you can't see an entire car beside you. That's what we're talking about.
And then there's the stopping distance. Trucks need a lot more space to come to a complete stop than cars.
Oh, yeah. Don't cut them off.
That's a recipe for disaster.
The difference in stopping distance can literally be the difference between life and death.
Point taken. What about motorcycles? I know lane splitting is legal in California, but are there any tips for sharing the road with them safely?
The handbook does acknowledge that lane splitting is legal,
Okay.
but it stresses giving motorcyclists plenty of space
Right.
and being extra cautious.
Yeah, they don't have the same protection that we do in a car.
Exactly. And I know those light rail vehicles can be tricky too. They seem to come out of nowhere sometimes.
Yeah, they do.
They have the same rights and responsibilities as any other vehicle on the road.
Okay.
Turning in front of an approaching light rail vehicle is a big no-no.
Yeah, because their braking distance is way longer than a car's.
Yeah, exactly.
Be predictable.
Yes.
Respect the rules and give everyone the space they need.
That's the key to sharing the road.
The handbook goes beyond the basics, though, right?
Yeah.
It also gets into some safety practices that can really help prevent accidents.
Exactly. It's one thing to know the rules, but it's another to apply them in our everyday driving habits. You know what I mean?
Totally. Like the 3-second rule, it's not just a catchy saying.
No.
It's actually really important.
Yeah, that gives you that buffer zone.
Yeah.
So that you can react if the car in front of you slams on their brakes.
I'll admit, I didn't always take the 3-second rule that seriously when I first started driving.
Yeah,
It just felt like a lot of space.
I know.
But I've had a couple close calls since then, and I totally get it now.
It can be the difference between a near miss and a fender bender.
For sure. I also remember the handbook's description of hydroplaning.
Oh, yeah.
That was pretty intense. It really brought home that feeling of losing control.
Yeah, hydroplaning is no joke.
Yeah, I once hit a patch of water on the freeway, and it felt like I was suddenly ice skating.
It's a good reminder that speed isn't the only factor.
Yeah.
Wet roads can be incredibly slippery.
Yeah, for sure.
And even experienced drivers can get caught off guard.
What's the best way to handle it if you find yourself hydroplaning?
The key is to stay calm,
Okay.
ease off the gas,
Okay.
don't slam on the brakes,
Got it.
and gently steer in the direction you want to go.
Right.
It's about maintaining control as much as possible.
Got it. And what if you break down on the freeway?
Well, the handbook lays out some clear steps. Pull over to the right shoulder,
Okay.
exit the vehicle on the right side if it's safe to do so.
Okay.
Dial 511 or find a call box and then stay in your vehicle with your seatbelt on until help arrives.
Safety first. And I'm really glad they mentioned the Freeway Service Patrol. They provide free roadside assistance
Yes?
in some areas during commute times.
Like a guardian angel on the freeway.
They can help with flat tires and jump starts.
Yep.
Even if you run out of gas, they'll bring you a gallon.
Yep. But keep in mind, they won't tow you to a private repair shop or residence.
Right.
They'll just get you off the freeway safely.
Got it. What about all those distractions that can turn a perfectly safe driver into a hazard on the road?
Oh, yeah.
Cell phones, eating, putting on makeup.
Distracted driving is a huge concern, and the handbook goes beyond just cell phones. It lists a whole bunch of common culprits.
Yeah, I've seen people doing some crazy stuff behind the wheel.
Me too. But the key is that driving requires our full attention.
Right.
Anything that takes our eyes off the road, our hands off the wheel, or our mind off of driving,
Right.
that's a potential hazard.
And cell phones, the message is clear, hands-free for adults,
Yep.
and absolutely no cell phone use for minors,
Right.
except for emergencies,
The law is very strict about that.
and for good reason.
Studies have shown that texting while driving is just as dangerous as driving under the influence.
Wow, that's a scary thought.
It's just not worth the risk.
No, it's not. Put the phone away and focus on driving. Well, we covered a lot of ground in this first part of our deep dive into the California Driver Handbook, but there's still so much more to uncover.
That's right. Join us for part 2, where we'll explore even more essential tips and insights to help you navigate the California roads with confidence and safety.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the 2024 California Driver Handbook. We're shifting gears now.
Okay.
And getting into some real-world scenarios that you might encounter out there on those California roads.
Yeah, and one scenario that can really catch drivers off guard
Oh, yeah.
is encountering a law enforcement traffic brake.
Oh, yeah, those rolling roadblocks. When you see those flashing lights in your rearview mirror and a police car weaving across all lanes, what's the best way to handle that?
Well, the key is to stay calm and follow the officer's lead.
Okay.
Turn on your hazard lights to warn the drivers behind you.
Okay.
Gradually slow down
Right.
to match the officer's speed,
Okay.
and absolutely do not try to pass.
So it's like a slow-motion parade with a police escort.
Pretty much just maintain a safe distance from the patrol car in front of you
Okay.
and follow their lead until they turn off their emergency lights.
Okay.
That's when it's safe to resume your normal speed.
Got it. Now, what about those times when you need to slow down or stop for other reasons? Say you encounter a funeral procession.
The handbook is very clear on this one. Funeral processions have the right of way,
Right.
and it's actually illegal to interrupt them.
It's about showing respect
Right.
and allowing families to grieve
Exactly.
without interruption. What are some signs that you've encountered a funeral procession?
Well, the vehicles will usually have special markers
Okay.
and their headlights on,
Even during the day?
even during the day.
Oh, wow.
They're typically led by a traffic officer,
Okay.
but not always.
Got it.
So if you see a line of cars with headlights on,
Yeah.
be extra cautious and be prepared to yield.
Good point. Better safe than sorry. Now let's switch gears and talk about something that can literally save lives in a collision. Seat belts.
Yes, seatbelts are such a simple safety measure,
They are.
yet so many people don't wear them correctly.
Or at all.
Or at all.
I remember my driver's ed teacher was adamant about this.
Oh, yeah.
They're not a suggestion. You used to say they're the law.
That's right. California law requires everyone in a vehicle to wear a seatbelt,
Okay.
and the driver is responsible for making sure that all passengers under 16 are buckled up.
Why are seatbelts so important, though? I mean, cars have airbags now.
Right.
So do seatbelts really make that much of a difference?
They absolutely do. Airbags are designed to work in conjunction with seatbelts,
Okay.
not replace them. Think about it. When your car comes to a sudden stop in a crash,
Yeah.
your body wants to keep moving forward.
Right.
At the same speed the car was going,
Uh-huh.
the seatbelt helps restrain you.
Okay.
Prevents you from being thrown against the dashboard or the windshield,
Oh, wow.
or even ejected from the vehicle.
I never thought about it that way. It's like a safety net.
Exactly. And the handbook stresses the importance of wearing the seatbelt correctly.
Okay.
The shoulder harness should go across your chest.
Yeah.
The lap belt should be snug and low across your hips.
Okay.
No twisting or tucking the straps.
So no wearing the shoulder strap behind your back
No.
or under your arm.
Nope, that defeats the whole purpose.
And what about pregnant women?
For pregnant women, the lap belt should be positioned as low as possible under the abdomen,
Okay.
with the shoulder strap between the breasts and to the side of the belly.
So it's about finding that right fit
Exactly.
to maximize protection for both the mother and the baby.
Speaking of protecting children, we should probably talk about car seats.
Oh, yeah, car seats. They seem like a whole science in themselves.
They are a science. Car seats are essential for keeping kids safe on the road.
Right.
And the handbook has a whole section dedicated to child passenger restraint systems. It can feel overwhelming,
Yeah.
but the key is to follow those guidelines based on the child's age, weight, and height.
Right. So infants and toddlers under 2,
Uh-huh.
it's rear-facing car seats all the way.
Absolutely. And they should never be placed in the front seat of a vehicle with an active passenger side airbag.
Oh, right.
So rear-facing until they outgrow the height and weight limits.
Okay.
Then it's on to a forward-facing car seat with a harness,
Gotcha.
and eventually a booster seat.
Okay.
Until they reach a certain height, usually 4'9".
Booster seats are so important
They are.
to make sure that seatbelt fits properly.
You got it. You want that seatbelt to sit snugly across their hips and chest,
Right.
not their neck or stomach.
Makes sense. And while we're talking about safety features,
Yeah.
let's not forget about airbags.
Oh, yeah. Airbags are amazing.
They are.
But it's important to sit at least 10 inches away from the steering wheel.
10 inches.
At least.
That's further back than I usually sit.
It might feel a little awkward at first, but trust me, it's crucial for safety.
Okay.
If you're too close to the steering wheel when that airbag goes on,
Yeah.
it can cause serious injury.
So find that sweet spot between comfort and safety.
Exactly. And while we're on the topic of safety inside the vehicle, we need to talk about unattended children and pets.
Oh, yeah. This is a big one.
Yeah, leaving a child or pet in a parked car, even for just a few minutes,
Right.
can be deadly, especially in hot weather.
I've heard stories about how quickly the temperature inside a car can skyrocket,
Oh, yeah.
even on a seemingly mild day.
It's scary.
It's really scary.
The handbook is very clear on this.
Okay.
It's illegal to leave a child 6 years old or younger,
Okay.
unattended in a vehicle.
Got it.
And it's never safe to leave any child or animal alone in a parked car,
Right.
even with the windows cracked.
Yeah, that doesn't really help.
The temperature inside a car can become dangerously hot in a matter of minutes.
Right.
Even if the outside temperature doesn't seem that extreme,
Yeah.
it can lead to heat stroke
Oh, gosh.
and even death.
So the message is clear.
Yes,
Never leave a living being alone in a parked car,
especially in warm weather.
especially in warm weather.
It's just not worth the risk.
Absolutely. Now let's shift gears and talk about something that plays a role in a lot of accidents. Speed.
Yes, speeding. We all know it's dangerous.
Right.
But what does the handbook say about it specifically? Well, one thing a lot of people don't realize
Yeah.
is that California has a basic speed law.
A basic speed law.
Yes, this law basically says that you can never drive faster than is safe for the current conditions,
Okay.
regardless of the posted speed limit.
So even if the sign says 65, if it's pouring rain or there's heavy traffic,
Yeah,
you need to adjust your speed.
exactly. It's about being a responsible driver
Right.
and considering all those factors that can affect safe driving.
Right. Like traffic,
Traffic,
volume,
road conditions, weather, visibility,
visibility.
even the presence of pedestrians or cyclists.
Right. And I know there are certain areas where lower speed limits are in effect.
Yes.
Like school zones,
School zones.
residential areas,
Residential areas.
near railroad crossings.
Exactly. And those reduced speed limits are there for a reason.
Right. It's about protecting those vulnerable road users.
Yes.
And then there are those areas where fines are doubled for speeding,
Oh, yeah.
like construction
So obstruction zones.
or those designated safety corridors.
Those doubled fines definitely make you think twice.
They do. So we talked about being aware of speed limits,
Right.
adjusting our speed based on conditions. But what about those unexpected situations that can happen, like a tire blowout? I had one once, and it was terrifying.
Oh, yeah. Tire blowouts can be scary. It's like the car suddenly has a mind of its own.
Right.
But the handbook offers some tips for staying in control if it happens to you.
Okay, so let's say you feel that dreaded thump, thump, thump of a flat tire.
First and foremost, don't panic.
Okay.
Grip the steering wheel firmly.
Okay.
And try to maintain your speed if possible.
Okay.
Gradually ease off the accelerator.
So no sudden brake.
No sudden braking.
We're jerking the wheel.
Nope. Those sudden movements can cause you to lose control completely.
Okay.
Once you've got a handle on the situation,
Yeah.
gently steer the vehicle toward the shoulder or a safe area to pull over.
Okay. And what if my vehicle drifts off the pavement?
Same advice. Stay calm.
Okay.
Hold the wheel steady.
Okay.
Ease off the gas and gently brake and steer back onto the road when it's safe to do so.
Smooth and controlled movements.
Exactly. The handbook also covers some other common emergencies, like what to do if your engine overheats
Right.
or stalls in extreme cold.
Yeah.
And of course, it has a section on what to do if your vehicle breaks down on the freeway.
Right, which we talked about earlier.
But what about a truly terrifying scenario? Your car stalls on railroad tracks with a train approaching.
Oh my gosh, I don't even want to think about that. What do you do?
If your car stalls on railroad tracks and you see a train coming, get out of the car immediately
Okay.
and run diagonally away from the tracks in the direction the train is coming from.
Okay.
This minimizes the risk of being hit by debris from the impact.
And then call 911.
Absolutely. Always call 911 in any emergency situation. The handbook also provides guidance on what to do if your car stalls on the tracks.
Okay.
But there's no train in sight.
Okay.
The key is to locate the emergency number on the railroad crossing sign
Oh, okay.
and report the separation immediately.
I never knew that.
Yeah.
I always just assumed you'd call 911.
It's good to know know that there's a specific number you can call.
Yeah, it might get help to you faster.
Exactly.
This handbook really covers everything.
It's pretty comprehensive.
And it's constantly being updated
Right.
to reflect the latest laws and regulations.
And safety recommendations.
So even if you think you know it all,
Yeah.
it's a good idea to check out the latest version.
You never know when that knowledge might come in handy.
Well, we're not done with our deep dive just yet.
Not yet.
There's still more to explore in the 2024 California Driver Handbook.
That's right. Join us for part 3, where we'll uncover even more essential insights to help you become a more informed and confident driver in California.
Welcome back, Road Warriors. We are in the final stretch of our deep dive into the 2024 California Driver Handbook.
I know.
And I'm feeling like a pro already.
You and me both. We've covered a lot.
Yeah, we have.
From the basics to emergency situations.
Yeah.
But I think there's still a few gems in this handbook that we need to share.
Okay.
You know, those insights that can make you a smoother, safer,
Right.
and maybe even a little smug driver.
Hey, I'm all ears. Hit me with those smug driver secrets.
Well, let's talk about merging onto the freeway.
Okay.
We all know it can be a bit of a free-for-all out there.
Yeah.
But the handbook actually lays out a strategy that's both safe and efficient.
Merging can definitely be stressful. What's the key to doing it right?
Well, it starts with choosing the right lane on the on-ramp.
Okay.
And once you're on that ramp, you need to accelerate
Okay.
to match the speed of the traffic that's already on the freeway.
So no crawling along at a snail's pace, hoping someone will let you in.
Exactly. You need to be assertive.
Right.
But obviously safe.
Yeah, of course.
Use your mirrors.
Uh-huh.
Signal your intentions.
Okay.
Look over your shoulder to check your blind spots.
It's all about finding that gap where you can seamlessly blend in.
And the handbook emphasizes that you should never stop on the on-ramp
Oh, okay.
unless it's absolutely unavoidable.
So merge or die. Just kidding. But yeah, you don't want to be stopping on that ramp.
No, you really don't. And the same principles apply when you're exiting the freeway.
All right.
You want to signal early, choose the correct lane well in advance,
Right.
and maintain your speed until you're fully on the off-ramp.
So no last minute swerving.
Nope.
Or cutting people off.
Exactly. Smooth and predictable movements. Those are key for both merging and exiting the freeway.
It keeps the flow of traffic moving and everyone's safer.
Absolutely. What about when you're on a 2-lane road and you've got someone tailgating you?
Oh, those tailgaters, they're so frustrating. What's the best way to deal with them?
The best thing you can do is stay calm.
Okay.
Don't engage in any aggressive behavior.
Like slamming on my brakes,
No.
tapping the horn.
No. Resist the urge.
Go hard.
I know it's tempting, but maintain your speed and your lane position.
Okay.
And if you have the opportunity to safely move over and let them pass,
Yeah.
by all means do so.
Get out of my way.
Let them go on their merry way.
Okay, good advice. Let's talk about driving in foggy conditions.
Ooh, yeah.
That can be pretty nerve-wracking.
Fog can be incredibly disorienting, especially when it's thick and visibility is low.
Yeah, for sure.
But the handbook offers some tips for navigating those hazy conditions safely.
Okay, let's say you're driving and you find yourself in a dense fog bank.
Okay.
What's the first thing you do?
Slow down.
Okay.
Reduce your speed to a level where you can safely stop.
Okay.
Within the distance that you can see ahead.
Got it.
And make sure you're using your low beam headlights.
Not high beams.
Not high beams. Those will just reflect back and make visibility worse.
Right.
Low beams are going to cut through the fog as much as possible.
Okay, so low beams, slow speed,
Uh-huh.
stay alert.
Stay alert, and whatever you do,
Yeah.
to use your parking lights
Okay.
or just your fog lights. Those aren't designed to illuminate the road ahead.
So what if the fog gets so thick that you can't see where you're going?
If it becomes too dense to drive safely,
Yeah.
just pull over
Okay.
to a safe location,
Got it.
turn on your hazard lights,
Okay.
and wait for conditions to improve.
Yeah, better safe than sorry.
Exactly. Let's talk about another hazard that seems to be popping up more and more.
Okay.
Electric vehicles.
Oh yeah, those EVs, they're everywhere now.
They are becoming more common.
Yeah.
And they present some unique challenges for other drivers.
They sneak up on you.
Yeah, they're so quiet,
Yeah.
especially at lower speeds.
Right, you don't hear that engine noise?
Pedestrians and cyclists might not hear an EV approaching.
Yeah, that's dangerous.
So the handbook encourages EV drivers to be extra cautious,
Okay.
especially in areas with lots of pedestrians or cyclists,
Right.
and to use their horn when necessary
Yeah.
to let people know they're there.
Be mindful of
Of
those
them.
who might not be expecting you.
Exactly. What about those designated EV charging spaces?
Oh yeah, those are popping up everywhere.
They are, and the handbook reminds us that those spaces are strictly for EVs that are actively charged. No icing allowed.
Icing, what's icing?
It stands for internal combustion engineering,
Oh, okay.
which basically means parking your gas-powered car
Gotcha.
in an EV charging space,
Right.
blocking access for those who need to charge.
Yeah, those people need to charge their cars.
Right.
don't take their spots.
Absolutely. We've covered a lot of ground today,
Yeah.
from merging to fog driving to sharing the road with electric vehicles.
Yeah, that's a lot.
What do you think the biggest takeaway is?
I think the overarching message is that being a good driver in California goes beyond just knowing the rules.
Yeah.
It's about being aware, adaptable, and recognizable.
It's about making safe decisions,
Right.
respecting the rights of other road users,
Right.
and being a part of creating a safer transportation environment for everyone.
Well said. And remember the 2024 California Driver Handbook?
Yes.
It's a fantastic resource for drivers of all levels.
Absolutely.
It's full of valuable information that can help you stay safe, avoid tickets, and become a more confident and responsible driver.
So if you're hitting the road in California, grab a copy.
Give it a read.
Keep those insights top of mind.
Die safe, drive safe.
Remember.
We're all in this together on those California roads. Yeah.